Stop whatever you're doing right now, take a deep breath, and be brutally honest with yourself. Are you truly happy with who you are? Or do you spend your days silently wondering why you're not like those people you see around you, the ones who seem to have it all together? Because here's the truth, and it's not easy to hear. As long as you keep comparing yourself to others, you're signing up for your own daily dose of unhappiness. Comparison might seem harmless, but it's a trap, a mental prison, the kind where the walls are invisible, but the impact is real. These walls are built out of flawless Instagram photos, flashy success stories on LinkedIn, perfectly sculpted bodies, picture-perfect weddings, exotic trips that look like they're straight out of a perfume commercial. And every time you scroll, every time you measure your life against someone else's highlight reel, you thicken those walls. You make the prisons stronger, until one day you don't even recognize yourself in the mirror. All you see are the things you're not. And what's worse, it all feels so normal, so automatic. Like, of course you should want more. Of course you should be better. Since we were kids, we've been taught to chase the top. Be the smartest, be the fastest, be the prettiest, be the most successful. There's this invisible checklist we all carry in our minds. Good grades, college degree, great job, car, partner, house, and oh, don't forget the gym body. But here's where it gets dangerous. Because comparison isn't just about wanting what someone else has. It's about slowly convincing yourself that who you are isn't enough, that your life as it is right now isn't worth living unless it looks like someone else's. That's the toxic seed, and once it's planted, it grows in silence. Philosopher Arthur Schopenhauer once said, "Envy looks only up, never down." And he nailed it, because there will always be someone who's richer, more attractive, more talented, more charismatic, or at least looks that way online. And the more you look up, the smaller you feel. The game of comparison is one you can never win. The rules keep changing. The scoreboard is rigged. And the finish line, it keeps moving. Think about it. From the moment you were born, you were put on a track. They told you, run fast enough, work hard enough, be good enough, and you'll reach happiness. So you run. You hustle for the dream body, the perfect relationship, the next promotion. And just when you think you're close, someone passes you. And then you hear, look, he's already got a house. She just had a baby. They just got back from another trip. What are you doing with your life? Social comparison never gives you a break. You might be proud of yourself until you see someone who's done more. You're okay with your body until you see someone leaner or stronger. You're content with your income until you find out someone your age is already a CEO. That's the problem. You're always looking ahead. Never to the side, never behind. You don't notice the people who are struggling, who are still trying to figure things out just like you. You don't see how far you've come. And what does it even mean to win? For some, it's wealth. For others, it's freedom. For one person, it's starting a family. For another, it's chasing fame. But when you're trapped in comparison, you don't even ask yourself what matters to you. You just absorb the goals of everyone else. And that's where the game becomes impossible. Because once you hit a goal, the goalpost moves. There's always more money, more followers, more everything. The higher you climb, the more people there are above you. It's like chasing the horizon. You can see it, but you'll never actually get there. And social media, it's gasoline on the fire. Before you only compared yourself to neighbors or co-workers. Now you're comparing yourself to influencers, millionaires, fitness models, and digital nomads around the world. You see one perfect photo and think, wow, they've got it all. But you're only seeing the highlight reel. You don't see the anxiety, the fights, the loneliness, the pressure behind the scenes. And even if you know this, it still gets to you. Deep down, there's a voice that says, they're winning, you're not. And that's where the cycle of self-doubt starts. You stop enjoying your own life because it always feels like it's missing something. You criticize yourself, push harder, judge every step, and before you know it, you start treating yourself like you're not enough. But here's the twist. This game is rigged. It was designed to make you feel like you're falling short, to make you run faster, work more, buy more, and you'll never win it. So, let me ask you this. Who made the rules you're playing by? Who told you what success should look like? Have you ever stopped to ask yourself if you even want what you think you want? Because the first step to freedom is realizing you don't have to play this game at all. And that's what we're going to dig into next. Let's go deeper. Because comparison doesn't just steal your happiness. It does something even worse. It hijacks your self-esteem. It takes your sense of worth and hands it over to the world saying, "Here you decide how valuable I am." And there's no more dangerous kind of slavery than that. Think about it. Since we were little, we've been taught that our value comes from outside of us, from the grades we got in school, from the approval of our parents, from the praise of our teachers. Later, it's about your job title, your income, the number of followers you have, the compliments you get. Everything becomes a performance, and every applause feels like a lifeline, every silence like a failure. And here's the cost when you depend on the world to validate you. You're constantly swinging between emotional highs and crushing lows. One day someone says something nice and you feel like you're on top of the world. The next day someone else is doing better and suddenly you feel like a nobody. You become addicted to approval. Every like is a little dopamine hit. Every nice comment is a dose of validation. But the moment that attention disappears, or worse, turns into criticism, you spiral. You start doubting yourself. You start asking, am I enough? And little by little, you stop living for you. You start shaping your life for the audience. You dress to be noticed, not to feel good. You say things just to fit in, not because you believe them. You post things that aren't real just to keep up appearances. You create this character, the ideal version of yourself, while the real you quietly fades into the background. And you know what happens when that inner voice goes quiet. You forget what you love. You forget what excites you. You forget what brings you peace. Everything becomes about performance. Even your sadness gets filtered so it doesn't bother anyone. Your struggles get edited for public consumption. And the saddest part, you might be successful by every external standard, but inside you feel completely disconnected, because when you're living to impress, your soul starts starving. This is the real trap of comparison. It doesn't just make you envious, it makes you forget who you are. You start believing that your life doesn't matter unless it looks better than someone else's. You stop celebrating your small wins. You dismiss your growth. You lose sight of your own journey. And it gets worse, because once your self-worth is tied to being better than someone else, it becomes conditional. I'll feel good about myself if I'm smarter, richer, more attractive, more admired. But that will never last. There will always be someone ahead. Always. So the moment you base your confidence on comparison, you guarantee a life of insecurity. And that insecurity starts creeping into everything. You stop going after your goals because you're convinced you're already behind. You stop sharing your ideas because someone else seems more talented. You stop believing in yourself, period. You shrink. You settle. And you live your life in this constant, low-grade anxiety, constantly trying to measure up to a moving target. Trying to impress people who, let's be honest, are probably too busy worrying about themselves to even notice. But let's pause for a second. What if I told you the real tragedy isn't that you feel behind, but that you stopped listening to yourself, that quiet inner voice that once knew what made you feel alive? What made you laugh? What made you dream? What made you feel at peace? That voice is still in there. But every time you compare yourself, you turn down its volume a little more. And when that voice gets too quiet, you go into autopilot. Wake up, work, scroll, smile, post, repeat. Everything becomes a loop of survival instead of a life of meaning. Arthur Schopenhauer once said, "The greatest wisdom is to be content with what one is, without wishing to appear what one is not. But how do you find that wisdom in a world constantly pushing you to be more, do more, want more? Because society is constantly feeding you roles. It tells you what to want, what to pursue, what's considered successful. And before you know it, you're chasing a life that was never even yours to begin with, studying something you hate, working in a job that drains you, being in a relationship just because it looks good from the outside. And that's when it starts to hurt. Deep down, you know something's off. You feel like you're living a double life, one for the world and one you can't even access anymore. You keep building the outside of the house, but the inside is cold, empty, and silent. And social media makes it worse. Because now every single day you're bombarded with curated lives, people who seem happier, more beautiful, more successful, and the more you consume, the more your life feels meh. You start questioning everything. Am I doing the right thing? Am I with the right person? Am I just lazy? Am I too slow? And every doubt pushes you further away from your true self. Until one day, you can't even answer the simplest question. What do I want? Here's a truth most people won't tell you until you reconnect with that inner voice. You'll always be vulnerable to pressure, to anxiety, to the illusion that you're not enough. And that's exactly what we're going to start turning around in the next part. Because you can come back to yourself. You can live a life that feels like yours, not just one that looks good from the outside. There's a reason why comparison is so powerful, so persistent, and so hard to escape. It's not just some personal flaw or weakness. It's not just you being insecure. It's much bigger than that. Comparison is a carefully built trap. One that benefits the world around you much more than it benefits you. Because here's the raw truth, we live in a system that needs you to feel not enough. That's how it keeps moving. That's how it survives. That's how it profits. Let's break it down. The modern world thrives on your dissatisfaction. The economy, especially in its most aggressive consumer-driven form, depends on you wanting more. More stuff. More status, more upgrades. If you woke up tomorrow feeling completely happy with your life, your body, your job, your home, guess what would happen? You'd stop spending, you'd stop chasing, you'd stop needing to prove anything. And for the people selling dreams in the form of products, services, and lifestyles, that's a nightmare. That's why the system feeds your comparison habit. It keeps whispering that you're not there yet. That there's a better version of you waiting at the end of a purchase, a promotion, or a perfectly staged life. That you'll feel whole once you lose 10 pounds, buy that car, take that trip, hit that milestone. It's a never-ending chase, and it's designed to be that way. Every ad, every influencer post, every commercial is saying the same thing. You could be better if you just had this. And that message sticks. It repeats so many times that eventually it feels like your own thought. Arthur Schopenhauer once said that life swings like a pendulum between pain and boredom. The system figured that out. It makes you feel the pain of being less than, then offers you something to escape it. A quick fix, a product, an experience. But the relief is temporary. And soon you're back to the same pain, the same self-doubt, ready to consume again. And just when it couldn't get worse, social media entered the chat. Now you're not only comparing yourself to celebrities and polished ads, you're comparing yourself to friends, classmates, strangers, people you've never met, but who all seem to be living better lives than you. And you forget it's a highlight reel. You see a smile on a beach and think that's the whole story. You don't see the anxiety behind the smile, the debt behind the vacation, the insecurity behind the perfect selfie. But knowing this doesn't stop the impact. Deep down, a part of you still believes everyone else is doing better. And that's not your fault, it's by design. Because when you're busy trying to catch up, when you're doubting yourself, you're easier to manipulate. You keep chasing, you keep spending, you keep running in circles trying to prove your worth in a game you didn't choose. Even hustle culture plays into this. Grind harder, sleep less, work while they rest. It glorifies burnout and shames rest. And if you can't keep up, you feel lazy, like you're failing. But what if you're not? What if you're just playing the wrong game? Schopenhauer also said, happiness belongs to those who are sufficient unto themselves. But how do you feel sufficient in a world built to make you feel lacking? It starts by realizing the solution isn't outside. It's not in a new job, a better relationship, or another app to help you focus. It's inside. But before we go there, let's make one thing clear. Escaping the trap of comparison isn't as easy as deleting Instagram. It's not just about muting certain profiles or turning off notifications. That's a good start, but it's not enough. Because the real poison is internal. The voices that say, you should be further by now. You're not doing enough. They're doing better. Those voices don't go away when the phone is off. They live in your mind and they've been fed for years. So what's the real antidote? It's choosing a different measure, a different game, one where the only person you're trying to beat is the you from yesterday. And that might sound cliché, but it's revolutionary. Because in that game, the rules don't change. The goal is progress, not perfection. Success becomes something deeply personal, not defined by trends or others' applause. Imagine this. What if success for you meant more free time, not more money? What if it meant sleeping peacefully, not being admired online? What if it was about having deep, honest relationships instead of chasing status? That's what changes everything. Because when you play your game, resentment fades. Envy disappears. You stop comparing because you realize you're not even on the same track as anyone else. They're running their race. You're running yours, and that's okay. That's when you start noticing your own growth. You realize you're more patient than you used to be, that you're finally setting boundaries, that you're more honest with yourself, that you're living in alignment with who you actually are. And that kind of progress, it builds a kind of confidence that no one can take away. Not social media, not an economic crisis, not even a bad day. So let me leave you with this. What if the goal of life isn't to be better than others, but to be more you every day? What if true success is laying your head down at night, knowing that you live today aligned with your values, your truth, your voice? Because at the end of the day, no one else gets to live your life. No one else can define your worth, and no one else will feel the peace or the pain of the path you choose. If this message resonates with you, I want to hear from you. Drop a comment and tell me what part of your life do you compare the most. Work-body relationships. Just putting it into words might be the first step toward letting it go. If this helped, give the video a like, subscribe to the channel, and check out the next episode. We've got more to uncover. I'll see you there.